So in today's session, we would discuss about the PYQs, how we can solve the PYQs in the right manner. Because UPSC has provided only two things from its end. One, that is syllabus, and second, the papers that it provides every year. So specifically talking about Prelims, the syllabus is very limited. I mean, the words that are provided in the syllabus, they are very limited. Like they have only provided Panchayati Raj or matters of current relevance in national and international importance. So that in itself, it covers most of the aspects that we would be dealing in detail today. So with the help of 15 years of PYQs, we would try to identify the micro themes that have been taught to you. And also based upon the analysis and understanding of these 15 years, we would be in a position to predict the NYQs, the next year questions that would be there in the prelims. So in a way, it will give us insights as to how the UPSC is actually working behind framing the questions. What is the mindset of the UPSC while they are framing the questions? What language they are using? What are the concepts that they are repeatedly using in their papers? So that we'll try to have a look at that. So for that, we have derived a formula that is called the 6,000 concepts, which has been identified over a period of 15 years. So in today's session, we would be discussing about the papers of last 15 years from 2011 to 2025. So it almost have 100 questions every year. So 15 papers, 100 questions, and 4 options every in each one of the questions. So if we sum all of them, then it amounts to 6,000 concepts. So why we are saying that it is 6,000 concepts? Because every question that is framed by UPSC from the end of the UPSC, we can have different approaches of looking at it, but the UPSC, when it frames a question, it frames the options that are given by UPSC. They in itself are different concepts that are utilized, which are mostly very close to what is being discussed, which we will take examples in the subsequent slides. So every option that is provided by from the end of the UPSC, that in itself is a topic. So we would be seeing that in environment, we would be seeing that in geography, that the options that were discussed in a year, the very next year, they are appearing a separate question in itself. So the closest that we can get into UPSC's mind is these 15 years of papers that can help us decode at least declutter things for us so that we can optimize our time in the last moment. We can sort of rule out all the things that we otherwise might be spending our time into. So earlier we were discussing about the big fours that were there. So economy was among them, science and tech, geography, space. So we see that every year, if you segregate the questions of each one of the subjects, let us say for economy we have, for science and technology, geography, if we segregate the questions, and when we read them, like we are reading them from 2011 to 2025. So let us say we were having 250 questions as per our data sets in environment. So when we would be reading the questions of environment from 2011 to 2025, then we would be able to predict a pattern that is there. So UPSC is not making questions out of the blue. There is no randomness, though when the questions are aggregated of all the disciplines, it might appear at one point of time when we look at the paper that these are random questions that are being asked by UPSC. But when you analyze them in depth, then you would get an idea that there are no random questions. There are repetition of themes there might not be repetition of questions per se, but there is definitely a repetition of themes that is there. So these are some of the themes discipline wise that we have tried to identify. Bonds become important, banking sector, the inflation part in economy, it becomes important, fiscal policy, that becomes important. This way we have science and technology also, the biotech, lidar. So these are the topics in which they would ask UPSC 1 year, they will ask a question, they will provide you 4 options. So we'll look at the options and we'll solve the questions. But UPSC doesn't look at that way. UPSC, when it is giving preparing 4 options for a particular year, then it would be having in mind the fact that in the next year, they might be asking a complete question on the option that was used in the previous year. So as students, when we are having this thing from UPSC, then our approach can be a similar one, where we are reading the previous year questions in such a manner that we are not merely seeing them as questions, that we are attempting a questions. If we are getting it right, then we are being happy, and if we are not getting it right, then anyways we are moving ahead. So that should not be the approach. This is where the difference is created between the students who clear prelims hardly, and there are students who clear prelims every year. We see that in every circle there's a person who clears prelims every year, like in 5 or 6 attempts they clear prelims every year. So what is it that they are doing different? This is one thing that they are doing differently, is that they are reading these previous year questions with such nitty-gritties that they are observing that pattern. And we would be discussing this further in the examples as well. So one questions we have discussed that it have 4 concepts. Don't just check the answer, read every option as a study point. So this is the time where we can sort of take out some time, like 1 or 2 hours every day, and for at least for the major subjects that are there, like the big fours that we have identified. So go to the big fours of all the questions of at least for the last 15 years. Try to read all the options that are there and try to see if at least like 5 to 10 lines on each one of the pointers that are mentioned in different options of these subjects. Try to study something about it. At least have a basic idea about it. It There might be chances that a separate question is formed this year on these things. So we are having an example as well. Like this was when I attempted the examination for the first time. So bisphenol A, a cause of concern, is a structural or key component in the manufacturing of which of the following? So the 4 options were provided that year: low density polyethylene, polycarbonate, polyethylene terephthalate, and polyvinyl chloride. So when we were attempting this in the real examination scenario, we were having no idea that what UPSC has asked, from where they are asking such questions. But the very next year, there was a question that was asked based upon the option C that was there. So it appeared as a separate question in the next year. And not only for this, this has been repeated by UPSC in almost every year. We see that articles are used in the questions of polity. So next year they are forming a separate question on one of the articles that was discussed previously. Species are discussed. Let us say they are discussing about a species, and they have provided 4 options for that. And next year or subsequent years, we would be seeing that based upon the species that were there in the options, they are forming a separate question, like the Gangetic river dolphin that is there, Irrawaddy dolphin is there. So they are forming question based upon this. Okay. So this is the 3-column method for analysis of PYQs. So how can we go about at this point of time? How can we actually do this exercise so that it can be beneficial for us? So, I mean, we don't have to attempt papers. Like we did the same mistake when I was an aspirant in the initial 2 attempts, that I would take a previous year paper, I would attempt it fully, I would calculate the marks, it would be 80, 85 somewhere, and I would be happy that okay, somewhere I'm close to the score or close to the cutoff that year. And having that happy feeling in itself is very futile. I mean, that is not going to help you in the real examination when you would be appearing. So the real purpose of analyzing PYQs is not for you to check your score. Okay, so it has to be I mean, you'll have to identify what can you look up to in these PYQs. So how can we actually do that? So first is the identification of the micro themes that has to be there. So let us say there's a question on governor. So we all read topics from different subjects. We are reading a topic on governor. And if we go into the polity section and identify the governor's questions, how many times it has been asked. And if you would be looking at all those questions, let us say they are saying that 7 times there was a question that was asked on the office of governor. So if we are having 7 different dimensions or 7 different perspectives of how UPSC can frame questions, then not only for the topic of governor, we would be having an idea as to what is the bent of UPSC, what is the mindset of the people who are framing these questions, when they are making these papers. So it will filter out a lot of things that we otherwise would be wasting our time in these crucial last 30 to 35 days that are there. So it becomes important for the identification of the micro themes in each one of the disciplines. At least do it on a priority basis for the subjects which are forming a major chunk of the paper, like 50 to 60% of the questions are asked. So they ask questions on ISRO missions, NASA, or any other missions that are there, scientific developments that are taking place, different scientific concepts. At least have a basic idea about these concepts, so that whenever you fall in a situation that you are having no idea, you just have read about the basics of that particular word, and UPSC has asked a complete question on that. So what in that situation, what you have to do is that just go into the basics. The toughest of the things are solved when you go into the basics of them. So just think, what is biotech? So if there's a question, a separate question, just simply think what is biotech. You would there is high likelihood that you would find an answer based upon the basics that you are reading. Second is facts missed. The governor removal procedure has no constitutional provision. So there would be certain areas. I mean, once you have identified the micro themes, then there would be areas which would be missing from that topic, which might not have been asked. So that would help you in sort of identifying as to what could be the next probable question. What could be the next probable question that could be asked from the topic? Like we have discussed that in case of the bisphenol A question. So there were four separate options. Either you would be having just a look at the right answer and you move ahead, or you just take out 5 extra minutes and you are looking at all the four options. There is a probability that you might be getting a question in the next 1 or 2 years, and you would be marking it right, and that too with confidence. So the elimination gaps that are there. So once we have identified the areas that are there we'll also have to, while we are solving the PYQs and on a regular basis when we are looking at them, then there is a certain pattern in our mistakes that we do. So we have to identify those gaps that are there. Sometimes that in hurry we do not read whether it is asking correct or not correct. UPSC, in many of the cases, they do highlight not correct or correct, but in many of the cases, sometimes we see that they do not highlight it as well. So you have to make it a habit that while you are attempting the questions, while you are attempting the PYQs, just have an habit of reading the questions in entirety. Don't leave that, okay, UPSC would anyway be asking what is correct or what is not correct. Don't go after assumptions. What you have to do is that just you have to weigh every question on its own merit. You not based upon any assumption that UPSC has been asking the last 5 questions to be only correct, then it might be asking. So don't go after that. Judge every question on its own merit, because each one of the question, it carries separate marks. Okay, the elimination eliminated the right option. So there's an approach as well that when you are attempting the question, so whenever you identify that this option is going to be wrong, just mark it wrong then and there only. So you would be having, you would be having the options which are clear in front of you, upon which you have to judge for the answer. And also, there's a thing here that while you are solving the previous year questions, when you are getting a question wrong, just do one simple thing. Just write on the question or make a separate notebook. Like we have identified three things in by which you can approach a previous year question. One is that you have to write down as to what was the reason because of which you were not able to make the question right. Whether it was some conceptual clarity that was missing, whether it was you were not able to you have read the question completely, but based upon certain assumptions that you have been solving similar questions and you have marked it wrong. So if you would be doing this exercise for, let us say, 10 to 15 papers, then there will be a pattern that is there. In a similar manner as UPSC is having a pattern, you would also be having a pattern in committing mistakes. So if you would have a repository of, let us say, 5 to 10 mistakes that you are repeatedly doing, then you would have something in your head that which are the things which I have to work in the next paper. So look it as a complete exercise when we are talking about the 15 papers. Then starting from 2011, make it a repository of your mistakes, which are the things that are missing, which are the micro themes that are there. So three separate things have to be identified. Then you'll start recognizing the pattern. So after solving 5 to 6 years of paper, you would have a fair idea what are your mistakes that you are doing, which you have to work. So it's a gradual exercise in itself. I mean, it's not that I would tell you 10 techniques and you would be able to implement it all with all its might. It is not possible until you practice them on your own. And also, there's an important point here, that while you are committing such mistakes, all you have to do is just write the thing down. You don't have to take a mental note. Okay, this is the mistake I'm doing. So what happens is that in the last we are revising lots of things, solving lots of questions. So there is lot that is going in our mind. So if we have not written that particular thing, then there is a chance that it might miss out, and we would be repeating that mistake again and again. So in a similar manner, if we are practicing something for betterment, if we are repeating the same mistake again and again, then the mistake in itself might get consolidated in your mind, and there is a probability that you would be repeating that in the real examination as well. So this is the basic thing that we have done, which have been called as the warm up. So you would be identifying these things, you would be working upon them and revising your things in the last 30 days. In the last 30 days, it becomes very important that which things you are spending your time onto. So if you are spending your time into things which will not be asked, like we have a section here, the dying ones. So if you are unnecessarily spending lots of time upon that, then that would cost us on the crucial things, that the blown up things that are there. So I mean, there's always an opportunity cost to that. So how would you implement this whole thing that is there in the real examination? So the full paper simulation that is there. So I'll take references from here as well, and I'll tell also what I used to actually do. So I used to make it a point that in the last 2 months at 9:30 sharp and at 2:30 sharp in the afternoon, I would be sitting with the PYQ. I would I would download the original paper from UPSC. I will not get it from any like someone who has written it or adjusted the font for the sake of practice in a different setup. I would download the original paper with the original fonts. I would be segregating all the papers of, let us say, last 10 to 15 years, and I would be attempting the papers. At 9:30 sharp, I'll have a timer. I'll start attempting the paper. So this simulation, it helps in at least the uncertainties that we are talking about, the uncertainties of examination that might resurface, that might surface, of which you are not prepared. Let us say that the person who is taking the attendance creates some kind of trouble for you, or there's anything else there. So these different conditions within which you simulate the attempting of these papers. So it will form your muscle memory for that day as well. Your mind would be conditioned in such a manner that when you would be sitting in the examination hall and at 9:30 sharp, when the bell will ring on the D-day, then already you have been doing that exercise for the past 30 to 40 days, then your mind is ready to attempt a question at 9:30 sharp. And if you are able to absorb the initial 15 to 20 minutes of pressure, then you are in the game. So what you have to do is just take the original papers of UPSC, sit down with a 2 hour frame, just shut everything down, shut yourself in a room or somewhere where you do not have any disturbance or any distraction. Keep away other things, just a plain empty table upon which you are sitting with your paper and just 2 pens and an OMR that would be there. Just that, just a water bottle or something that you would carry. So the idea is just you have to practice what you would be doing on 24th of May, right? So attempt the paper, attempt in all the three, 2 or 3 layers that you would be attempting the paper. Like first, you would only be solving the short 100% questions that would be there. Then filtering the questions in second and third layer. So the approach that you might have devised till now, or you would be practicing, let us say we have this idea that we would be solving the PYQs for the next 15 days, nothing else. We'll take the papers from 2011 to 2025 and we would be solving them sharp at 9:30. We are sitting it and we are solving it in a similar manner which we would be doing in the real examination. Is have your OMR that after completion of let us say first round you are filling your bubbles, then second round you are filling your bubbles. So after completion of a round, if you take out like 2 to 3 or 4 minutes to fill the bubbles, then that would help your mind to relax as well for a moment, and you would be filling the bubbles, and so that you do not have any rush in the end as well. Sometimes students they keep on attempting the paper, and by the time the bell rang for the last 5 minutes, they realize that they have not filled the OMRs. So please, these are the controllables that we can control. Apart from the uncontrollables, this is what we these should not be the mistakes that should cost us an attempt, or we should feel guilty that I was not able to fill the OMR. In the rest, sometimes what happens that so we have emphasized this particularly, that you have to fill the OMR particularly while you are attempting the PYQs for the next 15 days, because sometimes we would anyways fill the OMR in the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes for that matter. And if we do not have practice for that, then we there is a possibility that we might miss some question in the end, and that whole thing get messed up. So please try to avoid such mistakes for the last moment, and it is always better that you prepare them beforehand only. So that is there, 9:30 to 11:30. Also attempt at least five years of paper of CSAT, 5 to 8 years of CSAT of paper while you are doing this GS. So a proper simulation of, let us say, the 15 years of GS papers and 5 to 7 years of CSAT paper, that would condition your mind for the D-Day, and you would not find trouble if there is any up down in the weather or anything of that sort. So original paper, you have to take out, zero interruptions, no phones, nothing. There might be chances that while you are sitting or attempting a paper, whether it is your mock paper or the PYQs that we are currently discussing, that you would see that after attempting for, let us say, 1.5 or for some quite a time, you'd feel that, okay, I'm comfortable here, I'm sitting that. So try to do different, I mean, if you are sitting at your room comfortably, just reduce the time by 15 minutes. That would create some pressure on you, that you are attempting the paper in 1 hour 45 minutes. So you have to feel the heat of the real examination. Try to adjust it based upon how you are looking at it. So it is very important for you to avoid any kind of distractions here. So your mind would say that, okay, I'm able to solve, I will be able to do that. Please don't do that. Just sit for the 2 hours that is there. If you are able to complete the paper, you have already solved it and you are able to complete it, just analyze it. Look at the questions again and again. Look at the micro themes. If you are able to spot in the questions, look what is your approach? What was the logical approach that you were using? Identify the wrong questions that are there and see what are the mistakes that you are committing. If there's a pattern that is there, work upon that thing.